Surveillance Capitalism, making big data work for all. And by the way, we are being surveyed during this session by a camera and by an audio recorder, but that's just the beginning of what surveillance capitalism might be doing. So to talk about this, we have a senior researcher from Transpolitica, who is Alexander Karran, and he's got a lot of fascinating background both in politics and in academia. I'll leave it to him to explain more about himself, but let's welcome Alex Karran.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not actually going to talk about myself. Not that much time. So, however, I will start with a little bit of a farming analogy. Thus far, you've had the sheep and its wool. The wool being policy and so forth, the sheep being the various technical aspects of politics. I'm here to show you the wolf. Surveillance capitalism is all about the wolf and how it controls us and how it will control us in the future. So, I've started out with a brief definition. The term is not very well known right now. So I'll just talk you through it. Surveillance capitalism is a new parasitic form of capitalism. It has arisen as a consequence of big data utopianism. And in this new utopian vision, all technology is smart, connected, provides product as a service, where data is considered to be without ownership and seen as a panacea. The answer to everything, if only we had enough data. Yeah? So, who is it? Who's doing it? Well, it's basically a loose coalition of all the big names: Google, Microsoft, IBM, Facebook, of course. And what is their purpose? Well, in general terms, they aim to become social service engineers to provide services that are deemed to be social, such as shopping, social media platforms, and various other things. And they're going to do this via technology platforms, applications, and ambient information services. I use the term engineering in the broadest sense here, meaning to build software and hardware required for these services, to engineer the need for these services, and then to ensure that the need persists for these services across all iterations of that service. Somewhat circular. So, what's going to happen when they gather all of this data is what they want is to have a fourfold effect. They want to capture user attention and retain it. They want to model the future of a human's behavior, and these models can be built and tested using machine learning and artificial intelligence. And then they wish to place a percentage chance of accuracy on those models, which can then be sold on the open market. If you can say, my model is 75% accurate and it will accurately predict that a person will buy X or buy Y, then you're more than likely going to buy that model. I mean, I know I would, if I was in a position to do so. And overall, once they've built these models, what they want to do is they want to manipulate human behavior and change that behavior at scale. Yeah? So, how are they going to do this? Well, it's basically going to come from the convergence of all the technologies we've got right now. We've got the internet, we've got all of the social media platforms that we've got cellular networks and so forth, and soon we'll have the Internet of Things. All things we've heard about, but all things that are part of a slow creep. Now, how exactly will they achieve this, and how has this situation arisen? Because it's happening right now, you're just not aware of it. Well, it's happened because of a process called accumulation through dispossession. So, in the early days of the internet, when it was without form and void, and everyone loved it, and we were all naive, going through our clicks and various things, we were leaving small traces of ourselves behind. Now, everyone knew about this. They were called digital footprints, digital breadcrumbs, and various other things. Now, if you think about those terms essentially place no ownership on that data. They say it's waste. Yeah? And because it's waste, it's unregulated, and nobody owns it except for the person who captures it. So, once we've had this convergence, which is happening as we speak, surveillance will be implicit, explicit, and ubiquitous. So it will be all around us. It will check us while we're doing our things and while we are actually being ourselves. And they will take reports of our behaviors 365 days a year with no let up at all. So, I thought I've kind of rearranged my slides a bit since the other day because I had various other things to do. So I thought I'll go through the big data ecosystem right now, but this is not the ecosystem where you see all the big name companies and whatnot. This is from the lower level. So it consists of infrastructure, data analytics, applications, and now, of course, machine learning. So again, people say big data. What does it mean? Well, consider 2 to 4 quintillion bytes of data per day is created. Some data has ownership, but most of it does not because it's classed as waste. The big data ecosystem will have a market worth of $2 trillion by 2020. And the model that the big data ecosystem is currently working on is the extraction of natural resources. Now I'll go into this in a little bit more detail fairly soon. But the point is to create a zero-cost asset that can be diverted from service provision, where they say, obviously, you give us our data, we'll make our service better for you, to a unit of market exchange. So we've just taken your data, we've packaged it, and now we're selling it. You have no say over this because you've already said it's waste. You don't mind. You're not aware of it. Again, you know, a metaphor that one could use, and I think it's already been used today, is about trash collection. Yeah, you make your rubbish, you put it in a bag, you place it in a trash receptacle, someone comes and takes it away. You then do not think a couple of days later, well, actually, what's happened with my trash? Is it worth anything? You just want it gone. Yeah, it's stinking up your house, you don't want it, you want it gone. So that's exactly what they've done with your data. That's how people think of their data. And this is best illustrated by Schmidt and Cohen. Schmidt is from Google, Cohen was a co-author in a book they wrote, who stated that the online world is not truly bound by terrestrial laws, yet is the world's largest ungoverned space. This is how all of the tech giants see the internet and everything about it, all of its data and all of its infrastructure. Thus, it's not confined to any national borders. And here is a pictorial representation of the big data ecosystem. It is in essence the Wild West. Yeah? And the reason why I stuck that image up there is that if you can catch it, you can keep it. If you can keep it, you can sell it. The Wild West, as it used to be in the unfortunate days of colonization. So, as I've alluded to, the surveillance methods: implicit, quantified being; explicit, quantified doing; ubiquitous, the quantified environment. A little bit of flavour around this. So, implicitly, what will they be measuring? They'll be measuring how we think, how we feel, how we respond, and how we are made, using cognitive, affective, physiological, biochemical, and genetic methods. 123andMe, anybody? Anyone used it? Yeah, of course. Did you notice the small print that says they own your genetic data? Probably not. But they do. Once you've run the test, it's their data, you've said so it's all good. So this is the quantified being. This is you existing, and they will be measuring it. How will they be doing so? With various sensors. I'm wearing one right now. You've got your mobile phone, you've got your laptop. Not sure whether anybody knows whether the pinhole camera on your laptop can actually measure how you feel about what you do on your laptop. Probably not. But there is technology for that, developed by MIT, which allows the blood flow in your face to reflect how you feel, because that's what it does. And it can pick it up, and then it can do machine learning to it and calculate a percentage chance of how accurate it is and what your effective response is to a certain thing. So, on the explicit side, not really got time to go through the quantification bit of it, but we've got Google, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, etc. 100 billion searches on average monthly using Google. Facebook has 1.71 billion monthly active users. That's a lot of users. Amazon and Alibaba, obviously Alibaba is the biggest at 12.4 billion orders per year. And Netflix has 4.8 million concurrent users per show. So when we're talking about big data, this is what we're talking about at scale. 4.8 million people, 1.71 billion monthly active users. That is a market. That is a data source. The image that we see here is the exact thing from MIT. This is you using a website, and it's tracking your eyesight and so forth. It's creating a heat map. Now, if you consider that you do this covertly, 1,000 people use that same website. They roughly all look in the same place, then they can say, that's informed website design. Thanks for your free data. Yeah, and then they make money off selling that model. So, just an example, Facebook gathers 3,000 data points daily every time you go to it. And they consist of an awful lot of things. You can look these up online, none of which will make you feel happy. Right down to your mortgage and who's selling you it and how you are with your mortgage payments, oddly enough. So, ubiquitous, Internet of Things technology. This will be what we wear, if you're a technologist and or transhumanist, what we implant, everything that we interact with, what we work with, and what simply surrounds us. You go to your bank machine, it's got a camera on it. Soon they'll have other sensors on it, maybe a biometric scanner, etc., etc. So it'll just be all around you. You will not care. It's like, I want my money. Give me my money. You take my free data. Yeah, you're just completely unaware of it. So, humans, a natural resource. And I'll get into why in a little bit more detail in a moment. Goldman Sachs, in a recent report on big data, said it's a gold rush. The race to capture and trade vast amounts of data. A never-ending surplus of human natural behavioral data. Yeah? You kind of get an impression of what we seem like to massive capitalists. Not humans. So, in essence what it is capitalism inextricably linked to a new resource in order to mutate and revitalize itself. Now, I've been to many of these meetings where we spoke about the death of capitalism. Not going to happen. Capitalism is an amoeba, and this is its latest iteration. And it will just continue to grow like a virus. And we all like it because we all like money. So, yeah, we'll accept it. So, what surveillance capitalism does, on the other hand, is it breaks the supply and demand chain of old capitalism and replaces it with a feedback mechanism in which you, the consumer, are no longer buyers, you're no longer sellers, you're not products, but rather you are the very basis of free raw materials for a new form of manufacturing. In essence, to turn this into this, the new oil. You are the new oil. Believe me or not, it's true. So, however, now I'm here to argue that everything you do, all of your data is worth something. If someone's making billions off it, surely you can make something off it. I'd think so. So, enter the prosumer. A term coined by Alan Toffler in the 1980s for various sociological reasons, none of which we need to know right now. Derived from prosumption, whereby customers produced while consuming. Simple samples exist, such as YouTube and Twitch. You produce something, they give you money, and you carry on and so forth. And basically, data that humans create is not waste, it represents digital labor and digital value, in my opinion. So an example of how parasitic the system is, on the left-hand side we have the symbiotic, on the right-hand side we have the parasitic. We have the prosumer, digital labor, the platform, and then everything else that sits opposite to it in order to extract value for the provider. No value is ever provided to you, the user. They say it's free. You say fine, click, go. You start to use it. You then produce information for that platform. Other people then come and you produce for them. They produce for you. We have a nice feedback cycle where you think you're getting a symbiotic relationship where Facebook, or other social media I should say, are sitting there and they're basically rinsing off all of that data in order to aggregate it and sell it on. Obviously, ostensibly for better development and good advertising, but really it's for aggregation, mining and selling. So what is the problem? Is this not just good capitalism? Well, it's a threat to liberal democracy, the notion of free will and the development of self. Not for us because we're old, but for our children. They won't see this. What they will see is what I'm going to term a psychoaffective mirror, where they look out into the world and instead of seeing the world, they see themselves. When they do something new, the system changes, and then they see themselves. Every time they do something, all they do is they see themselves, and it feeds back onto themselves. We've heard this, it's a recurrent theme throughout the day so far. So, it's going to lead to a complete loss of privacy, which I'm sure we've all accepted already anyway. But we all believe that we have rights to our data, which is not the case. So, what it allows is for the building of obsolescence time perfectly to match a new offering and then create a new need for that offering. Now, I have a solution, but unfortunately won't be able to go through it. So fair pay for fair use. In my opinion, you have the prosumer creating their things. We have the data platform, and then we have the blockchain. Yes, I know it's like quantum woo, but it would be effective. All data on the blockchain. Then, as it's aggregated, you get some value onto the blockchain again. It's mined. Another value is calculated, some to you, some to the provider, and then at this point is where obviously capitalists would be interested in. They take it off the blockchain, and you say, I no longer have rights to this data, please do as you will. But prior to that, you get some cash, or some value, in some way. So, policy, the political solution, I would advocate personally for the convergence of public understanding, corporate empathy, and state-level policy. Advocate for the education of all citizens from the earliest age possible about digital data ownership and how it affects them personally. Something that does not happen. Propose a code of conduct with regard to data ownership, from production to sale. Provide a legal framework, fair pay for fair use, of course. I would like that system to be in place. And then provide the ideological support for the notion of liberal democracy via the freedom to choose without manipulation. And that would be me. It's not all bad. That's the good stuff. However, I'm out of time.
Alex, I'm going to give you 1 more minute to tell us the good stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, the good stuff, we're going to end up with more intelligent machines. We all like AI. We all think it's going to happen, and it probably is, whether we want to or not. So we'll have more intelligent machines, which in my opinion should lead the way for better governance. Humans should step aside and allow the artificial intelligence to do it for us. Just my opinion, of course. It'll lead to personalised healthcare, which is obviously excellent. You go to a doctor's, instead of them standing around mincing words, trying to do differential diagnosis, they take your blood, they take your genetic samples, half an hour later, probably IBM's Deep Blue. Watson says, you have X, Y, Z, here's your treatment. I mean, I'd like that. Don't know about you. Obviously, cognitive support and enhancement, emotional support and enhancement. The emotional support and enhancement is happening right now. They're starting to get like psychiatrists, specifically for depression and whatnot. You go, you chat to an online psychiatrist. Now, I'm good with that. I don't really like talking to humans too much. So, you know, I can express myself to this robot. It knows me, it feels me. So, you know, I come away feeling happy with that. Solutions to existing scientific and social problems. Well, this is what we've been promised. This is the panacea of big data. However, solutions to problem we don't even know exist right now. Also a possibility. Better economic modelling. Well, you know, let's not go there. And a more knowing environment, one that like, you know, we're in there, we're doing our thing, and it says, okay, you're sick, please go here. Or you've lost your child, it's actually here. And so forth. I didn't say, I have children, he's in the audience, he's not in it, I promise. And so on and so forth. So it's not all bad. And that would be me.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Okay.
The top question for you is about this quantum woo that you mentioned, the blockchain. So what's all this stuff about storing data on the blockchain? Why don't you just encrypt it so it's only visible to those it was intended for?
Well, the thing about the blockchain, if you could just humour me while I go back a moment. Okay, so in this, we've got the symbiotic, which is you, the prosumer, doing your thing, the platform storing the data and hopefully going to do their thing. So you've got a symbiotic, and the blockchain will ask for some transparency. The thing about encryption and whatnot is we want to actually encourage companies to do things. The blockchain exists, it's already there. They could just hopefully like shoehorn a business process into it in order to let it flow. I mean, we've got like the new fintech, we've got all these coins and whatnot. My actual idea for the blockchain thing was not to have it interact with fiat currency, but to be like an energy credit that the state would then stamp on and say, right, this is worth value, buy electricity, buy internet, buy X and Y with it.
The current Bitcoin blockchain is a global throughput rate of about 7 transactions per second and uses roughly the electricity of Cyprus. Do you think that this will scale?
No. No, I do not. No, I do not. I'm not going to stand here and say that this is awesome. Like this is why I say quantum woo. It's the same equivalent.
I'm sure there are people who say that there are more efficient versions of blockchain being cooked up. One more question from here. I mean, are you campaigning for a new digital bill of rights law? Are you getting behind that effort?
I would be, yes. In my political efforts previously, we've argued that there should be more digital rights, digital privacy, and various things. And it would be something I would certainly like to advocate for. I mean, as part of Transpolitica, I mean that's our raison d'etre. That's what we want. If people can come up with policies like suggestions that we should move forward with and apply our research acumen to, then we're more than happy to do that and advocate for it. Go on.
Sorry, I was advocating in your way to break this model.
Right, okay.
Exercise your right, not your model, their model, is to exercise your rights under the General Data Protection Act to be forgotten and take all your data back.
I would love to agree with that. Pre-Brexit, awesome sauce. Post-Brexit.
No, it will be British law before the exit.
Okay. Well,
Do you want to be forgotten, Alex?
sorry?
Do you want to be forgotten? Are you clearing your account off?
Well,
Facebook?
actually, funny you should say that. My best friend in the entire world recently passed away. I have all of her data for 15 years. She's still online, by the way. Wherever I go, she's still there. Everywhere I look. And recently I've read an article by some lady who created an AI of her friend, and I'm giving that serious consideration. And I'm also giving it serious consideration for myself. So no, I wouldn't like to be forgotten.
Just one more. Evan's had his hand up several times and I haven't called him out. So.
I get incredible return for the data I'm prepared to share with the world. I get access to a fantastic search engine, YouTube, Google Maps, cost me nothing. And I've never bought anything courtesy of Google ads or Facebook ads.
No, of course.
So my goodness, I mean, I've got a good deal.
I believe not. I believe you're being ripped off from from first principles. Yes, you've used Google search and it's ostensibly it's free, but it is not. It tracks your behaviour. It tracks everything you do, and not just you, but your household and those created. Well, that's fair enough. I do. I want to give you money. I want you to have money.
I agree completely with this. My question is just the model. And one of the things I thought about is why not create a platform, a for-profit platform that basically everybody locks their data into that platform. It's encrypted, and then they decide what's going to be shared, what isn't shared. They then get charged, and they get a royalty check every month for anybody who uses their data.
If I could just address that with a simple, there is no original idea in the world. There's one that exists, and it's in London. I think they call themselves Black Box or something. You give, sorry? There's quite a few now. So you give them access to your data and sovereignty over your data. Again, I think potentially this would be better because, okay, somebody else is making money and still you get some return, but why not get it yourself? Why not have it as your intrinsic right?
When are you writing your book on surveillance capitalism?
It's ongoing, actually, believe it or not. Also, yes, I've spoken a lot about it, but a leading light in this area is a lady called Shoshana Zuboff. If you can actually wade through her stuff, it's awesome.
So thanks very much, Alex. We have to move on. There's still three talks to go.